Councillors Barkwell and Van Alphen, could I ask you to put your microphones on mute, please? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting for the afternoon of Monday, March the 22nd. The meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel at youtube.com, District of Summerland. All representations to council, whether written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available for the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Members of the public may access the meeting or participate in the following ways. Watch the meeting live or recorded, again at the YouTube channel, District of Summerland. Or you can or request to speak during the meeting. Those that have not registered in advance but wish to speak during the public comment opportunities may connect to the meeting by calling the meeting conference line at 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374 and passcode code 485186. After I have provided everyone who has pre-registered with an opportunity to comment, the floor will be open to apologize. I lost my connection for a moment there. On to our Director of Corporate Services. Are there any late items to introduce?
There are no late items, Your Worship.
Thank you. So could I ask for approval of the agenda, please? Thank you, Councillor Van Alphen and Councillor Holmes, seconder. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That carries unanimously. Item 4.1 is to consider the adoption of the regular afternoon council meetings of 2 weeks ago, March the 8th. Is there anything that needs to be changed in those meetings, in those meeting minutes? If not, could I have somebody bring forward? Thank you, Councillor Van Alphen, and seconded by Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Great, thank you. Moving right on to delegations, we have one today from our Sergeant David Preston. He will be providing us with the RCMP quarterly update. Although I don't see him yet, but we'll wait patiently. Are you trying to connect with him? Yes,
Yes,
thank you. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I haven't heard from Dave, but I do know he has the link, so perhaps he got called away unexpectedly. If you would, oh, there you go, Graham.
Apologies, Karen. Yeah, I just heard back from David. I think he said he is trying to join. So maybe we'll just give it another minute and see if we can resolve that.
There we go. Welcome, Sergeant Preston. Whenever you're ready, you could please proceed.
Here, is that working now?
We can hear you.
You can hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. My apologies. I don't use Zoom that often, but I will get on with it here, and I'll go over the Q4 stats. Start with total calls for service 605. That's a 9% reduction from 2019, same quarter. This quarter, we saw a positive decrease in most crimes, most notably sex offenses and domestic violence. We're down over 90 or 80%. So, and then property crime, over 50% reduction in auto theft, bicycle theft, and shoplifting. On average, we saw for the quarter there, we did see property crime drop 16%, violent crime 13% reduction, and total criminal code offenses was down 9%. Highest call for service continues to be traffic incidents, which equates to about 13% of our call volume. Q4 stats, we implemented, I think going back to September, we started an initiative that did target road safety and did try and increase our contact, stopping vehicles, violation tickets, warnings. Just to recap a number for Summerland members, we issued 204 traffic violation tickets or notice and order warnings. We also work in partnership with South Okanagan Traffic Services, and they have members that start their shifts, end their shifts in Summerland. So they do generate some statistics in our area. They also produced another 110 points there. Now, looking back, sort of the end of the Q4, we sort of look at, that's the end of December 2020. So I look back at all of 2020, and in 2020 we received 2,996 calls for service, so just shy of the 3,000, which is pretty consistent with the other years in the past. Of those calls, we get 61% of them that come through the telephone, just through the front counter office here, and 30% of them are through the 911 operations telecommunications center. So just to go over our top, I listed the top 7 files that we have. Number 1, of course, which is significantly a lot higher than all the others, but is the traffic incident files. Number 2, theft, then followed by abandoned 911 files, property files, alarms, disturbance, check well-being, and that's about it. So we did, I know alarms were on the top 5 there. We have generated in 2020, we did get the system going where we do bill back, or the city sends, I think they give a couple warnings to the property owners. And because we continue to get a lot of false alarms. The number of alarm calls that are false are, I think, 99% or something like that. 2020 total number of violation tickets in 2019 was 360. In 2020, we had 470. So an increase in those numbers. Another significant increase that we experienced was the number of report to Crown councils that we submitted to the Crown. So the number of those files where charges were recommended in 2020 was 139. In 2019, for example, it was 28. So a significant increase in the number of charges that went through. Motor vehicle accidents, we had in 2019, there was 113. In 2020, we saw a decrease in that number, which is good, 102. And the significant noteworthy one type of accident was the ones where there was injuries. And that number was down from 23 in 2019 down to 9, just 9 in 2020. So I'm hoping that with our concentrated increased efforts in making more public awareness and stops and all that, we're seeing a difference in number of accidents and that. We did have one member that we that I nominated for the Alexa's team, and the Alexa team, just a background, is anyone that conducts over 12 impaired investigations, then they can be a part of that Alexa's team. So we had one member that that was successful in achieving that. So good for him. Our budget, as of February 28th, which was our period 11 of our 12 periods, we were sitting at 63% of the budget, which is really good. Our target that they indicate to us that we should be at is 92%. So we were at 63, so that's very good. Obviously, a contributing factor to that is our resources. So our resources, we had of a total complement of 9, we were at 7.34 for up to this point. So we are running short, but it's definitely it has been a somewhat of a difficult year, but our numbers and everything are looking really good. And then just to kind of recap our annual performance plan, and just to again mention what our priority issues are here at Summerland Attachment is we do look at violence in the relationships. Number 1, number 2, traffic and road safety. Number 3, police visibility. And number 4, property crime reduction. The other thing in 2020 that we implemented was that online reporting. I'm not, we did only have 12 of those files, but it's not that big of a concern. It's just another tool that's available to the citizens that they can report their crimes online. So last meeting, we discussed mental health investigations, and I did look more into that. I did just more even curiosity to, we have had a considerable increase in the number of mental health related type of investigations. In 2020, we had 176, whereas in 2019, we had 114. So 54% increase, and it seems like that's those numbers just seem to keep going up. So I don't have anything else. That's pretty much sums it up. Is there any questions?
Councillor Barkwell, and then Councillor Holmes.
Turn on my microphone. The reports to Crown Council, that's quite a remarkable increase. Is there sort of any background explanation with that? I mean, I
was looking at that. I mean, when you look at all the increases that we've generated, like just even IRPs, I don't think I mentioned that on my numbers here, but impaired investigations went up 30, from 38 to 24. So, right there, that's a report to Crown Council. That's one of them. Every time we do more stops and more checks, if it's a prohibited driver, then it's just, so all those increases in traffic stops and et cetera and all that will constitute, higher caseload of reports to the Crown. But no, I don't have any other sort of information as to why there's so many more. I will say 2019 was definitely a lower than normal year. So if you were to look at the 2018 stat, total reports to Crown Council was 91. So, and then I don't have 2017, but yeah, I would say that 2018 or sorry, 2019 was lower than normal.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, thank you. To the sergeant, I know you can't comment on any specific crime. So if you don't want to answer this question, that's, I understand. But last summer we had a rather high-profile hate crime, and I'm just wondering if that investigation is still ongoing. Is the file being closed or still open, or any progress on that?
The file has been closed. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough evidence to support going through with a charge. So,
okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
my apologies if you had to wait long for me getting set up here, but
That's okay. Could I ask for, and again, I can understand the sensitivity of this. Could I ask for further comment on there not being enough evidence of a hate crime? Like what is it what bar do you have to meet to recognize that it is a hate crime or not, to proceed with that?
well, first of all, we didn't get the suspect. We don't have an actual individual that we found. We had a number of leads, but it was, in following up on the leads, there wasn't enough evidence to say whether or not it was a particular individual or group of individuals.
Yeah, so I can understand if you haven't been able to capture a suspect and get to the point where you can actually lay charges. But my question is, what is it that determines whether or not it's a hate crime? My understanding, and this was widely reported in the media, that a hate crime file had been opened. And so my question is, it sounds a little bit contradictory to me, with a hate crime file being opened and then learning just now that it was closed because there wasn't enough evidence. Whether or not you found somebody, that's the contradiction that I see, and that's the comment that I'm asking you to provide more details.
Sorry, I don't know what comment in particular you want me to comment on. Sorry, I didn't get the question or the.
Okay, perhaps we can talk a little bit more offline. I don't want to hold up this, but if you could give consideration to the statement that there was not enough evidence to continue with the file, and if there wasn't enough evidence to have a hate crime file opened, then how does that change? Like, if a hate crime file was opened, and that was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, if a hate crime file is opened and then it's closed because you couldn't find, none of your leads amounted to anything, I don't see the correlation between that there not being enough evidence to have a hate crime there in the first place.
Well, if a file is open or closed, is kind of, if it's closed, it doesn't mean that if we got information tomorrow that was, very evidentiary, had a very evidentiary value, then simply the file will just be reopened. So it's just, at this point, we're not investigating it until we get some more information.
Okay. So I guess I misunderstood what you were saying in terms of closing the hate crime file because you didn't have enough evidence. It was not enough evidence. And correct me if I'm saying this incorrectly. It was not enough evidence to pursue charges and find a suspect, but it was enough evidence for you to
Correct.
open a hate crime file in the first place.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else?
Any other questions? Okay.
We
I
are
just,
just another thing. We are losing our one of our front counter civilian member is retiring. So I think that's that information is going out there, and they're starting the process for replacing her. So it's going to be a big loss for us, but
yes, I can imagine.
so,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Preston.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye-bye. If I could ask a question of you, Ms. Needham, typically we get a copy of the RCMP update. Are we not, has that process changed?
Madam Mayor, the copy was circulated to council and will be posted on the website after this meeting.
Sorry, it will be circulated to council?
It was circulated to council with the agenda package links.
Well, that's weird. I don't have one on mine, but anyways, oh, just a minute. Yeah, I don't have one on mine. Anyways, that's fine. Thank you. I seem to be having all kinds of technical difficulties today. Okay, so on to public opportunity for public comment. I don't have anyone showing here as being registered. Has anyone come forward in the meantime?
There's no public on the line right now, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then we're on to business items, beginning with 7.1, 2020 Regional Housing Needs Assessment. And our CAO, Graham Statt, is going to introduce this item.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the district has been working with our regional partners, obviously the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, the City of Penticton, but also the Village of Karamias on the preparation of a regional housing needs assessment that is a new legislative requirement for each local government to have in place prior to 2022. EcoPlan International was retained by the regional district to complete the housing needs assessment, and today a final copy of the report is before council for consideration of receipt. This report includes an assessment of the district's housing needs required today and projected out to the year 2026. Also included is identification of core housing needs and extreme core housing needs for people within the community experiencing affordability challenges. Finally, there is key areas of local need also addressed in the document. And with that, I'll pass it over to Brad Dolovit, who is our Director of Development Services, and he'll also introduce our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Statt. Before I introduce our guest that will be presenting, I do want to inform council some of the requirements of the Local Government Act with regards to these housing needs assessments. And so the local government is required to receive these in an open council meeting, and we have to do so before April of 2022. And our delegation here today will probably go into that legislative requirement in more depth. As well, once council does receive a housing needs report, then all future official community plan amendments that deal with residential designations must consider that housing needs report when it's being reviewed by staff and by council moving forward. So that's just something to note. If council elects to proceed today, as what we recommend in the receipt of this regional housing needs assessment for the purpose of the District of Summerland. And with that, I'd like to introduce Corey Lebrecq from the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. He's a planner too with the RDOS, as well as Evie Morin and John Ingram from Ecoplan International, who are consultants with this project. So with that, I'll maybe pass the reins over to Corey. Thanks, Corey, for joining us.
Thanks, Brad. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. I'm Corey Lebrecq, planner with the Regional District. 2019, the District of Summerland, City of Penticton, Village of Karamias, and Regional District resolved to undertake a collaborative regional housing needs report to fulfill the province's new requirements. In 2020, Ecoplan was hired through a provincial grant to complete the project, which included engagement with several housing organizations and extensive data analysis. The report does fulfill all of the province's requirements and also includes sections on First Nations and other municipalities within the region. It provides an overview of housing needs and will be an important study to inform future policy discussions and plan reviews. With that, I will introduce John Ingram and Evie Morin from Ecoplan. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey, and good afternoon, Your Worship and Council. My name is John Ingram, and I am a principal here at Ecoplan. And I'm here with Evie Morin, who's going to join me on a little bit of a summary presentation of the housing assessment. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Oh, it appears to be my internet connection again. I can't hear anything.
Are other members of council able to hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'm just going to share my screen. To bring up the presentation, and it's a short summary presentation, but you will have all received a copy of the larger document as well. So I think many of these points were covered by Corey and Brad as well. The Local Government Act was amended in 2019, and it requires all local governments to complete a housing needs assessment by April 2022 and every 5 years thereafter. And it's intended to help local governments in the province better understand and respond to housing needs throughout BC. And there's a 3-year funding program that's being administered by UBCM, which provided funding for this project. And there's also data guidance provided by the province. So there's data, long form census data and other data that was provided by the province for this work. And the little graphic below just demonstrates the spectrum of housing that this report considers, moving from shelter, safety net housing, all the way through to market housing and ownership housing on the other end of the spectrum. So the purpose is really, it creates a snapshot of the current housing situation, shows how it's changed over the past census periods. We went back 3 census periods. There are estimates on how housing may evolve, and it's intended to support future housing work and future OCP and planning work in municipalities across the province and regional districts. But what's important is that it's looking at what, not how. So as a snapshot document, it is really, looks at over 50 data points. And there's quite a bit of data that's attached for those of you who've made it into the reports. And also there's some Excel spreadsheets, but it doesn't go into providing recommendations or policies and the like as Summerland's housing strategy does and would. So again, it's information, not recommendations. And really the focus of it is core housing need. And core housing need looks at these 3 criteria: the adequacy of the dwelling, does it require major repairs? The suitability, is the dwelling overcrowded? And affordability, can the household afford the housing? And core housing need is housing that falls below one or more standards and where people are paying 30% of before tax income on that shelter. And extreme core housing, it's defined in a similar fashion, where housing that falls below one or more of those standards and 50% of total before tax income is spent on it. And I'm going to actually end this share and I'm going to pass it to Evie, who will share from her side to give you a bit of a rundown on some of the key findings and summaries, and then we'll move into questions if there are any.
Okay, so like John said, I'm going to go over some of the key findings about Summerland within the context of regional findings, starting by additional units required. So from 2016 to 2026, an estimated 5,934 new units may be required across the region, and about 16% of these might be in Summerland. And this chart is comparing the type of housing required in Summerland in the blue compared to the region in the green. And you can see that there's a slightly higher demand for smaller homes with 3 or more bedrooms in Summerland. And according to municipal data, Summerland was registering just under the required number to meet this target, suggesting that additional units is a need in Summerland. In 2016, an estimated 4,480 households were in core housing need across the region, and renter households were much more likely to be in core housing need than households that own their home. And 2,000 of those homes were in extreme core housing need, where they would be spending more than 50% of their before tax income on shelter. And 10% of these were in Summerland. This chart is comparing the proportion of the total households in Summerland compared to the region that are in core housing need. And you can see that there's a much smaller proportion of households in Summerland who are in core housing need. Through interviewing stakeholders as part of developing this report, we heard that affordable housing was a need in Summerland. So across the region, around 20% of households were spending 30% or more of their income on shelter costs. And this was slightly less in Summerland, with only 8% of households spending more than 30% of their income on their shelter. But Summerland also had some of the highest average sale costs in the region. So this chart is showing the change in that average sale cost of a single family dwelling since 2011. Summerland is in the blue, and it's above the region, which is in the green. And in 2019, it exceeded $700,000, the average sale price of a single family dwelling. So the need for affordable housing is outweighing the supply in Summerland. We also heard that there was a shortage of rental availability of all types and sizes across the region and in Summerland. Summerland had a slightly smaller proportion of renter households than across the region, but there was still a demand for increased for rental units, and we heard that there was a lack of purpose-built rental units in recent years. Renters were also more likely to be in a state of core housing need, in part because they had lower household incomes, and also because the cost of rental units was increasing. Special needs housing is defined by BC Housing as housing for clients who need access to affordable housing with support services for residents with mental and or physical disabilities. And across the region, Penticton was the one place in the South Okanagan that provided a number of these services. So residents in the region, including in Summerland, who may find themselves in need of special needs housing would likely end up in Penticton. But there remains, because of the high demand there, there's a concern for finding special needs housing in Penticton as well. The regional district has a relatively high proportion of seniors compared to the province. So provincially, about 17% of the population is age 65 or over. And in the region and also in Summerland, it's closer to 30% of the population who are seniors. And this age cohort is also anticipated to experience the most growth over the next 5 years, suggesting that demand for seniors units may increase. So that includes smaller homes, and also seniors housing and assisted living units. Seniors, particularly those who lived alone and rented their dwelling, were at a high risk of being in a state of core housing need. We also heard that there was a demand for housing for families, particularly affordable housing for moderate to low income families or families with a single parent. And this chart compares the household size and bedroom size. And there's actually a greater proportion of bedrooms with or homes with 2 or more bedrooms than households with 2 or more members. But these households, again, had a quite a high average sale price of more than $500,000 in 2019, in Summerland over $700,000. So that makes home ownership more within reach for families who have a higher income that's well above the median. Lone parent households were also at the greatest risk of being in a state of core housing need. And in Summerland, nearly 30% of lone parent households were in a state of core housing need. There's no specific data on homelessness in Summerland, and there was no beds or supports for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness, but we did hear that across the region, there are varying degrees of visible homelessness experienced. So visible homelessness would include people who are unsheltered or maybe living in a homeless shelter, but hidden homelessness includes people who don't have security of tenure, so they might be living on a couch or in a vehicle. And then there is also a number of people who are at high risk of homelessness. And we heard that across the region, there was the lack of support for people at risk and experiencing homelessness. Another housing issue specific to the region and around Summerland is agricultural workers. So as an agricultural center, people will come to the region in the summer to pick crops, and some employers will provide housing for these workers, but many do not. And for people who are unable to secure housing during this time, they may end up living in unsuitable conditions, such as overcrowded conditions like living on a couch, or also some of these seasonal dwellings are rented out in the winter, and the problem with that is they're not suitably built to be inhabited during those times. And a final key housing need in the region is seasonal vacation homes. So the peak rental period for vacation rentals is in the summer from July to September. And we found there were 950 whole home rentals, so that doesn't include like rooms in the region, and 20% of these were in Summerland. And this can lead to some challenges. One is less housing stability. So some people may only be able to rent a dwelling in the out of peak season, so like from November to April, and then they have to find something else. It also decreases the number of full-time rentals available for renting households. And it can also, similar to gentrification, increase the value of an area. So combined, having fewer but more expensive year-round accommodations can make it harder for local residents to continue living in their communities. So like John said, there's a lot of other data, but those were some of the main key housing needs that we found in Summerland and across the region.
And at this point, we'd invite any questions from council on any of the information that was presented. And as Evie said, that's a 10,000 foot or even higher level perspective of the data covered in this report and on Summerland in particular.
Thank you, Evie and John and Corey. Council questions? Councillor Carlson and then Councillor Holmes.
Thank you for this information today and for bringing this forward to our meeting. I think it's very timely, but I guess my question is, given what is currently happening with the market and knowing that there are currently families facing eviction because homeowners are deciding to sell and capitalize on this market. Is it possible that this is already out of date, and is 5 years going to be too long of a wait before we update with this current situation that we see unfolding as we speak?
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Great question. And I think that's always a challenge with any report like this, or for that matter, any census information that we're using. I mean, we are looking at census information from 2016 for this, and censuses previous to that as well. And so that is always a consideration, that sometimes it might become dated, but I don't know and have yet to figure out how we're able to have censuses and this information kind of in real time and be able to track that. And I sometimes joke and say I probably wouldn't, if I did know that method, I probably wouldn't be involved in the planning field anymore. Who knows?
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple questions, if I may. So there are 180 detached homes in Summerland that are on vacation rental websites. So that wouldn't include carriage houses. They'd be a separate stat. And would we know the total number of properties, including suites and carriage houses and things like that, that are on vacation rental sites in Summerland?
Our number included just whole homes, so I don't think that included carriage homes. We got the data from a website called AirDNA, and it definitely, we only looked at from the peak period, so July to September, and it's a publicly accessible data that you can go on and monitor.
And to follow up, if I may, do you from your from your research have any idea if places where seasonal vacation homes are regulated, like in many communities, they don't allow primary use homes, single detached houses as a vacation rental. They only allow accessory or a secondary suites or whatever. Do you know from any research of what percentage of those, say, in our case 180 homes, would then become available as rentals or on the market as housing? Has any research, what is the impact, I guess, of regulating that market on housing in the community?
Well, I think that there are some examples. We actually just recently completed a housing assessment for Fernie, which is a resort community. So there are different regulations around it. They also have a much more significant issue in that community where they can have in peak periods, they refer to it as a shadow population, being upwards of 30% of the town's population, which is approximately 5,000, being temporary visitors. So there is some research on it. We didn't think that Summerlands or nor there are other areas in the RDOS where perhaps it could potentially be a bigger issue. And I don't know if Evie, if you have any thoughts on the regulation is different in resort communities in British Columbia, or the ability to regulate them is different for resort communities in British Columbia than it would be for a community such as Summerland. But there are communities have explored ways of managing and regulating, and I see Brad's hand is up as well.
Yeah,
Just a sec. Evie,
Sorry.
did you want to respond it further before we go on to Brad?
No.
Okay, thank you. Brad, please go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. And to Councillor Holmes, I think that the information that you're requesting would be part of our review of short-term rentals regulation. We want to ensure that we have a clear picture of the number of homes that are going to be subject to potential regulation. So we'll be gathering those stats of what currently is within the community right now, and also what could be the impact of imposing the regulation in terms of freeing up those places for the rental market, the long-term rental market. If council moves forward with a regulatory scheme, so that could be something that council sees in the future as part of that project, which is a strategic priority project of council.
Good, thank you. Other questions? Okay, before I go to you, Councillor Holmes, I just want to give others a chance to ask their questions. Okay, seeing none, back to you, Councillor Holmes.
Okay, thank you. So you talked about the average sale price in Summerland, and I always think that it's a bit skewed when you look at sale prices for Summerland, because we have so much lakefront property, which kind of pushes the average up. And so I'm just wondering if any of those kind of variables were taken into account, and did you look at the range of prices throughout the region? So how much lower end stock do we have compared to higher end stock, and if that was taken into consideration?
That number was from the Kootenai Real Estate Board, I believe. We have a large data set that does have all that information quite aggregated, and then just for the report and the presentation, we used that average, but it is available.
Just to follow up, I think it would be useful, because we always hear the averages and we always think, oh, Summerland's so expensive, but I think the reality isn't necessarily I don't think it's necessarily that much different compared to the rest of the region. Thanks.
Councillor Barkwell.
Sorry, I was trying to turn my mic on. I turned my camera off. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just further to Councillor Holmes' comment. It would be interesting information, anecdotally, because I haven't I've studied it. It's easy to compare, say, a 3-bedroom house in Penticton versus a 3-bedroom house in Summerland, and compare the value or cost, whichever word you want to use, and to see whether Summerland's more expensive or not. That would certainly, when you compare like to like, then you'd have that information. The averages, as Councillor Holmes has pointed out, is quite skewed. But this whole affordability issue is a real conundrum, because you would think that perhaps it's demand and supply related, that we haven't got enough supply on the market. That's why these prices have been going crazy. Just to check on things, I had a conversation with a realtor this morning, and there just isn't any availability in Summerland. But on the other hand, there's all sorts of lots in Trail Creek that haven't been developed or have been sitting on the market for a long time and only now just slowly being developed. So, there's product potentially available, but it's not being put on the market. So what as a council can we do about that? Flood the market with more housing? I'm not sure. Is there a way to find an answer? I guess I'm just raising more questions that don't have answers to them, other than the fact that even if we did find out whether our average house was more expensive than Penticton, well, what do we do with that information?
And if I may, the one area that we did note where prices were skewed because of the sale price of the homes in that particular community was in area E in Naramata, just given some of the homes there, which some luxury models for sale.
Any other questions, council? Okay, could I have somebody bring forward the recommendation then, please? Would this be received for information? Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Barkwell? Any further discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, that carries. Thank you so much for this presentation. We've been waiting for a while, and it kind of, certainly the Affordable Needs Summerland Report of 2017, we have been relying on that for a number of years now. So it's nice to have an up-to-date and really to confirm what we pretty much already know here in Summerland, but with more up-to-date data. So this comprehensive report that meets the legislative requirement is very helpful. So thank you so much for all of the work that you've done with that. I'm glad that we could partner with RDOS and other municipalities on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, on to 7.2, the Southern Interior Bylaw Notice Dispute Adjudication Registry Agreement and Bylaw Notice Enforcement Bylaw Amendments. And where is Dan? There you are. Please go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Your Worship. The current agreement for us to that we're involved in with the dispute adjudication expired December 31st. So we need to amend that bylaw to allow for us to remain a part. The bylaw notices is it's a great tool to have. Unfortunately, to write them, we have to be a part of an adjudication group, which Southern Interior is for us. If we don't have that, we can't write the bylaw notices, and we're back to only being able to write MTIs or long form informations. MTIs require, when they're disputed, to go into provincial court in Penticton. I would have to attend, person accused has to attend. It's a bit time consuming. It's still a great system, but for more serious offenses, maybe more serious zoning offenses or what have you, that's a better process for that. For more simple things, Summerland, the bylaw offense notice is a much more useful ticketing scheme. I can attend by phone from my office. The disputant can attend by phone from their house. It's a reduced cost for everybody involved. We share those administrative fees that the city of Kelowna incurs through the administration of the forum. And I think the last 3 years, even though we've budgeted about $1,500 per year, each year we've been well under that. Last year was the lowest. COVID kind of canceled the
Are others having problems hearing Dan as well? Nod?
Am I back?
Yes, you're back now. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, sorry. Mid thought. So yeah, it is a useful program. It's nice that we're reviewing it each time the agreement expires to make sure it's still meeting our needs and it still makes sense. The province is currently reviewing it to review the fee schedules and fine schedules associated with bylaw notices, but especially for things like parking, dog licenses. If you don't have a business license, simple things like that, it's a really good system. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Council, questions of Dan? Oh, I think I'm gonna sneeze. Nope. Okay, could I have somebody bring forward the motion, please? Okay. Can folks hear me? Can people hear me?
And see you, but perhaps you can't see everybody. We've got lots of people
I
wanting
can
to.
good. I can see everyone, but I don't see anybody's hand up.
Can you hear
Maybe you
me?
could just now I can hear you, Councillor Van Elfen.
Okay.
Were you moving this?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Trainer, you are seconding? I'll just assume you're frozen on my screen. Is there any further discussion on this? Councillor Barkwell, you have your unmute or your mic unmuted. Did you wish to say something?
Oh, I was just going to move it when we had that pause there. Is there?
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming that there is no further discussion, so I will call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? Great, thank you very much. And I apologize, we're definitely having some issues here at Municipal Hall. Okay. Renee, I hope that you are still with us. We're on to 7.3, the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel. There you are again. Renee, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The district is required to annually produce a parcel tax roll prior to imposing the tax. Although there are no new parcel tax bylaws adopted in the past year, there are several subdivisions which have created numerous new parcels. Prior to the district imposing parcel taxes on these newly created parcels, we are required to include them on a parcel tax roll, and the roll must be authenticated by a parcel tax roll review panel. Letters have been mailed out to each of the new parcel owners that are to be taxed, and the district will also be advertising in the Summerland Review in the upcoming April 1st and April 8th editions. The primary purpose of the parcel tax review roll panel is to review the rolls, consider any owner complaints, make corrections, and authenticate the roll. The recommendation before council is that the parcel tax roll review panel meeting be held electronically on Monday, April 12th at 12:30 p.m. and that 3 council members be appointed to the panel. Thank you, and that's my report.
Thank you, Renee. If I could just verify that April the 12th is a council meeting day anyways?
Yes, I believe so.
Good, thank you. So that's at 12:30, just before our afternoon council meeting. So some of you have sat on this panel before, on the review panel. Is there anyone that would like to participate for the first time or again? Councillor Van Elfen, you're a yes, are you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would be glad to do it. I've done it before. It's absolutely riveting.
Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. And Councillor Holmes, I see your hand up as well.
Yes, I'll participate. I also have a question though.
Okay, can we just get to the third member and
Okay.
then I'll come back to you. Thank you. Third person that might like to, Councillor Carlson, thank you so much. Okay, back to you, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just my question is how we do this electronically, because if I remember correctly, last time I did it, you know, you have the roll and you have to review it. And how do you review it if it's all electronic?
Can you speak to that, Renee, or perhaps Karen?
Yeah, I assume we just have to adapt to that. So whether we provide you with a digital copy beforehand, we would make sure that you had the required information. So of course, it's a new process, but we'll have to adapt what we do.
Like we are doing all the time, right, Renee? Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. Any other questions, either of the three that have stepped forward or anyone on council? Okay, so thank you very much. Could I have someone bring forward the motion, please? And if you could name the three councillors that have stepped forward and so that we can appoint them. Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, that the three council members be appointed to the 2021 Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel, and that the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel meeting be held electronically on Monday, April 12, 2021 at 12:30 p.m. to review, consider any complaints, make corrections, or authenticate the roll. And the council members are Martin Van Elfen, Councillor Doug Holmes. I'm sorry, I missed the third.
Councillor Carlson.
Oh, Councillor Carlson, thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Seconder, Councillor Barkwell. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, that carries. Okay, on to 7.4, the budget amendment for the Thirsk structural analysis. 7.4, so that will be Chris. Then you will be speaking on that, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
In the fall of 2020, a horizontal crack was observed on the upstream face of the Thirsk Dam near the interface of the original 1941 concrete and the 2007 addition. So the date of the crack began is unknown, but staff engaged Interior Dams to investigate and provide recommendations to ensure the safety of the dam. So a preliminary investigation was completed on December 1st. There was no immediate concern with the dam's performance, but Interior Dams recommended that we complete a comprehensive structural stability analysis to determine the cause of the crack and provide recommendations for corrective action early in 2021. They also noted that there's no concern with allowing the water level to rise above the cracked area this year as we go into freshet. So an RFP went out in February and closed on March 2nd. The RFP required that the stability analysis report be completed by June 18th, 2021. In order to proceed with this project and to ensure funding for this additional project is available in 2021, staff reviewed the water capital plan and proposed deferring 3 of the planned projects totaling $125,000 to subsequent years to offset the increase to allow this project to proceed in 2021. So quickly, those 3 projects are the Thirsk Dam Concrete Protection Project, which was a protective coating that was going to be placed on the upstream face. The crack will need to be assessed and dealt with prior to this project proceeding. The Thirsk Wood Debris and Spillway Project, that was just removing some wood debris on the spillway that can be deferred into 2022. And then the tree removal on the downstream embankments of some of our dams. We would just look at removing the high priority or high concern trees in 2021 through operations and defer the majority of this project to 2022. So in conclusion, staff's looking for a resolution to allow the deferral of those 3 projects as noted in order to provide or allow sufficient funds for the structural stability analysis of Thirsk Dam to be completed in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank goodness you monitor up there on a regular basis. Okay. Any questions of Chris? All right. Could someone bring forward the motion, please? And I will ask you to read it. Councillor Van Elfen. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. that 126,542 be allocated from the water capital reserve to fund engineering consulting services for the required structural analysis of the Thirst Dam. And that 3 project, Thirst Dam concrete protection project, Thirst wood debris on spillway project, and the tree removal on downstream dam embankments project budgeted for 45,000, 50,000, and 30,000 respectively. In the 2021 water capital plan be deferred to 2022 or such later dates as required, and that staff prepare a bylaw to amend financial plan 2021-2025 bylaw number 2021-001 to incorporate these changes.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion on this? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, just thinking, I guess, longer term, we're deferring these 3 projects to next year, but that's money still has to be budgeted somewhere. And I guess we never really budgeted this 126,000. Is that correct? That something we never anticipated we'd have to spend money on. So I guess what does that do to our long-term planning further out by just kicking these other projects down the road?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Holmes. So in the preparation of the 2022 budget, we will look at if and how this will affect the future planned projects. Likely it'll have a ripple effect where it will delay 1 or more projects into subsequent years, but it'll be more from a workload capacity standpoint than from a funding standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question through to Chris, if I may. Is there any funding available through the province, like through Emergency Management BC or anything like that? I don't see that this is an emergency, so to speak, but I'm not the consultant or the professional, but is there any, have we looked into any revenue sources?
Not that we're aware of at this point. It is something that we continue to pursue and continue to monitor, and we will also future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Van Elfen. Chris, I have another question related to the budget. Once this work is done, I understand that this is for allocating funds for the consultant that's going to do the work.
You're on mute, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. My thought would be that the consultant will give us an idea of what it will cost to actually do the repairs of that are required once they do their assessment. And that will we have that information by the time that we start 2022 budget deliberations? Is that reasonable to expect that 6 months?
Yes, Madam Mayor. The intended completion date of the report is mid-June.
Oh, good. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? I will call the question then for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, I'm having a few difficulties. So if there is anyone opposed, can you just give me a shout out, please? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. And before you go away, item 7.5 is our 2021 snow course survey results. An update. Thank you.
All right, I'm just going to share my screen. All right. Yeah, so looking at the 2021 snow course survey results to this point. So just a quick summary or a review where you can find this information on our website. Just on the main page under city services, you can go down to underneath the water heading to snow course survey. We update that information throughout the spring as we go into freshet. The location map shown here was attached to the report as well, just to remind council of the 2 locations where we do complete the snow course surveys. So the first one up near Headwaters 1 Dam, and then also on the south end of our watershed near the near Eisentalk Dam. So looking at the first set of graphs here from Headwaters, the red line is the 2021 data to date. It's been fairly consistent here to this so far this year. We show on this graph sort of the maximum of each month throughout our data from 1964 to now. We show the maximum in January and the minimum in each month, just to show the upper and lower limits on any given month that we've seen throughout our data record. We also show the previous 4 years of data, and then also show the mean over the whole historical collection of this data. So and what we do measure against is against that mean. So on this next slide, we measure a percentage of the historical average. So if we're 100% of the Sorry about that. I had some issues there. I'll just reshare the slides. Okay, so what we measure against is the historical average. So if it was 100%, that would mean we were right on par with the historical mean over for that given month or that given measurement. So far on Headwaters, at this point in March 1st, we were 127% of the historical average. So at this point, it could level off or it could increase significantly. It totally depends on the weather up in the snowpack, and so we'll have a better idea usually on that April 1st reading where we're going into freshet at how much snow do we have in each area as melting starts to occur. And that April on is the area where we start going into measurements every 2 weeks, just because it becomes more and more critical on making adjustments to our reservoir inlet or outlet pipes, as well as monitoring for erosion and any issues downstream. So the next set of data here for Eisentalk, again, this to date, we've been right around the historical mean. On March 1st, we were 99% of that measurement. And again, as we get into April is where we will be monitoring it more closely and looking for any trends or issues that may arise based on the snowpack levels that we see at that time. So with that, I'll turn it over to council if there's any questions.
Council, any questions? Councillor Barkwell.
Not so much a question, Madam Mayor, it's just a comment maybe for our new CAO. Summerland's probably a little bit different than a lot of other communities. Here, I don't know of any grower who doesn't watch these stats all year. And it's the subject of conversations at all the coffee shops and stuff. And so I thank staff for, making them available on the website and presenting them to council, because there's always a great deal of interest.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. Okay, could I have somebody bring forward the staff recommendation, please, or something along those lines? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I move that the 2021 Snow Core Survey results dated March 22nd from the Director of Works and Infrastructure be received for information.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Van Elfen. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
On to 7.6, Community Climate Action Advisory Committee Terms of Reference Update, and I will pass this over to Tammy Rothery.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Council. As noted in your package, staff and our committees regularly review the committee terms of reference to ensure that any suggested improvements are communicated to Council and that our terms of reference remain in conformance with Council policy. Suggested changes to the Community Climate Action Advisory Committee's terms of reference to meet these objectives are included in your package, and we've used track changes for your easy reference. The changes are further outlined in the covering staff report. I'd be happy to walk through them, or if Council wishes, or I can just turn it over to you for any questions that you have. Thank you.
Council, well, first of all, thank you, Tammy, so much for giving us a redlined draft. It's very helpful so we can see, without going back and forth from one document to another. I very much appreciate that. So thank you for that. Council, do you have any questions about anything that is being changed here with the terms of reference? Well, I don't see any hands raised. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just regarding the staff position on the committee, what do our other committees, normally you have a staff support person, but they're not necessarily a member of the committee itself. They're there as staff support. Whereas the way it reads here, it reads that the staff person is a non-voting member of the committee. So I'm just wondering if we could get some clarification and if that's consistent with other committees or not.
I can try to answer that, and of course our corporate officer can jump in. So thank you for the question through the mayor. So we have a mix of situations in the district. We have some committees where staff are exactly as you've indicated, Councillor Holmes, a support person. There's a couple of terms of reference, including this one, where staff are designated as the chair. So it really varies in the District of Summerland in what role staff tend to take within the committee. And this terms of reference outlines some of the specific staff support roles that staff are meant to provide. So it's a bit of a blend here. If there's a concern with the wording around membership, we can definitely amend that because as a non-voting member, staff are meant to simply facilitate the meeting rather than participate in the way that community members would regularly.
Follow-up question, Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I guess it's, I don't really have a strong opinion one way or another. I just, more curious about the philosophy behind it and the thinking behind it. And I haven't really given enough thought to think what makes more sense. But I think generally speaking, the staff person probably shouldn't be a member of the committee. They should be there to support the committee.
Graham, and then Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through to Councillor Holmes. I actually am inclined to agree with Councillor Holmes in his overall observation, especially if we're looking to achieve a degree of consistency across the various committees that staff are involved in. When I look at the staff support section of the terms of reference, really these are secretariat duties. And so I think we could sort of profile our role as providing sort of secretariat services to the actual committee membership. So I certainly wouldn't have any concern if we go that way as a general principle to committees staff are involved in.
Thank you, Graham. Councillor Carlson.
Just a comment, I guess, on the Climate Action Committee. It's a group of going back to 5 members. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Eric, we can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you.
You can? Interesting, because my screen is totally frozen.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I will continue then. One of the things I think is important to recognize is that the climate
And we can't hear you. You're gone.
Ironic. I think that the internet at the farm is probably better than the internet at City Hall right now. Just a comment on, that I think it also has to do with the function of your committee and what it is that committee was set up to do. It's a community climate action committee, so the group has initiatives and ideas of how to implement climate initiatives into the community, but there's a large component of that requires work directly done by staff. And so I think there, it's a bit more of a, perhaps there's some differences in that making that distinction. I don't know if that's the right word, but I know that it's worked quite well in past. And when Tammy shows up and has a plan and can tell everybody, what works, what she has the capacity to do, and then lets them bring forward ideas. And, they've actually done work as a committee. They've done plans and put stuff together. And then a piece of that implementation has to come through staff. So I think it might be, I guess it's complicated because it is a huge priority of council to get climate action initiatives done. And without a staff person taking that very seriously and being involved in that committee, I don't think we as council can say that we are taking our community members and their participation as seriously either. Like, we kind of might just brush it aside or forget about it. So I know that's sort of a hard way to get some words out, but I lost my train of thought at one point, and I will let maybe Councillor Barkwell can continue because he's currently on the committee, has some experience.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Yes, I will go to Councillor Barkwell now.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Okay, we should be consistent, but there's also what Councillor Carlson says is true, but it's true for all of our committees. And in my experience here, the Heritage Advisory Commission, which isn't there anymore, and the Water Committee, and which seems to be inactive, in the Climate Committee, whatever the group is, they seem to work best if the staff member takes an active role in leading the meeting. And some meetings they've been sort of, maybe not the chair, but they've presented, they've put forward the materials. Maybe the group has agreed to what they need to discuss, or what, or maybe it's something specific to council that they've been asked to discuss. It can work both ways, but when the staff member it takes an active role, regardless of which committee it is, it works better. And Tammy's been doing a great job on that committee, responding to what their interests are, as well as sort of giving ideas and such. So it's a balance. So I'll say that, and let's just hope that it works, whichever technical way you want to write it. But I also had another question, and it stems from a really good suggestion at the Climate Action Committee, where there was a suggestion how we could, another community had done this, and maybe Summerland could do it. There was a device, $700, maybe $1,000 or something, then people could borrow it and they look at infrared pictures of their homes and see where there's heat leakage and stuff. So the issue was, well, gee, they don't have a budget to buy this sort of thing. So can a committee put forward a request for funds for a specific project? It goes along with, what committees can do or can't do.
Thank you for those comments and that question through the mayor. So committees have different capacities that are outlined in their terms of reference. This particular committee is structured as an advisory committee, and so it does not have the authority to assign budget. However, they can make recommendations to council, and it's staff's responsibility to bring those recommendations forward on their behalf for council's consideration. Specifically speaking to this question about the infrared cameras, I can just let council know that we did start a detailed discussion about purchasing some and having them at the library available for checkout. And then we're informed that Fortis BC was actually doing the same thing. And so we thought, okay, they're probably better equipped financially and administratively to handle that. I'm not exactly sure where that got to, but I can follow up for council's information. But my understanding was that they were going to be providing the Okanagan Regional Library with a number of infrared cameras that would be available for free checkout by citizens. So I can follow up for council's information on that.
Great. Any other questions, whether about the role of staff on advisory committees? Councillor Barkle, do you have another question?
So just to follow up, so then the process would be that the committee, the advisory committee, if they had something, and it could be any one of our committees, that might actually to them be a good idea, but would cost some money, they would then ask the staff person they would have a vote, and then the staff person would put it on the agenda for council's consideration as a budget item. Then, and obviously council can't make huge changes to their budgets, but if there was a relatively minor thing, this would be a possibility in a general term. I'm not want to be specific to the specific item or anything. I think it's more of a question for our CAO.
Graham, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the mayor. I actually think that is the right process, especially when we have good ideas that are flowing from a committee that are set up for that express purpose, to give good ideas and innovation concepts to council to move files forward. I think that's the right process. Take that vote, bring it into council as a suggested budget allocation item, and then we as staff can provide advice also from a budget perspective as to how we might be able to fund that initiative if something comes forward. And sometimes there's in-year slippage that allows us to, without me, sort of blowing the budget, being able to work within our existing flexibility to accommodate those kinds of changes.
And I believe there's a line item in our budget for climate action, for the Climate Action Committee anyway. So there is that. Any other questions? Okay. could I have somebody bring forward some type of motion, please? On whether I guess it really depends on how you feel about the role of the staff person on this particular one. Councillor Carlson, thank you.
I will bring it forward. I think that it's not, there's nothing broken about the way the committee is currently working. And so I'd like to see it continue in that capacity. And if council wants to make some broader changes and do a review of all of it, I believe that that should be another conversation.
You're on mute, Madam
Sorry,
Mayor.
I lost my connection. Did you bring forward the staff recommendation, or were there changes to that?
Staff recommendation to change the terms of reference or update the terms of reference for the Climate Action Committee as suggested.
Okay, thank you so much, Councillor Carlson. Seconder? Okay, everybody's frozen. Could I have somebody speak up and second, please?
I will second that.
Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. And any further discussion on the amendment?
I've tethered to my phone, so I'm no longer on City Hall internet, and it looks like City Hall internet is not working right now.
Is there nobody from City Hall there?
No, well, it looks like they're coming back, but
Karen's here.
I'm here.
I think Graham was going to try and tether onto his phone as well.
I can see Tammy.
Tammy's not at City Hall though.
Oh.
You're on mute, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I keep forgetting that it automatically puts me on mute when I get kicked out. So was there any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? I can see 2 hands up. If you're opposed, 3 hands up. If you're opposed, could you just give me a shout out, please? Okay, I'll assume that that is passed unanimously. Thank you. Wow, this is tricky. Okay, we're almost done. 8.1 and the 8.1 and 8.2 are just adoption, something we've seen before. The first one is driveway access amendment bylaw number 2021-004. We are to consider adoption. Could I have someone bring forward that, please? Councillor Holmes, seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor of adoption? Okay, opposed? I'm having trouble seeing anyways, so I again am going to assume, unless somebody calls out to me, that that is a unanimous agreement. And then on to 8.2, same thing, fees and charges amendment bylaw for solid waste 2021-011. This is for adoption as well. Anyone okay to bring that forward for adoption? Thank you, Councillor Holmes, seconded by Councillor Van Elfen. Thank you. Any further discussion? Stop laughing, Councillor Van Elfen. All in favor? Yay, I see everyone's hands. So that carries unanimously.
Not laughing at you, Madam Mayor. I'm
I
laughing.
know. Yes, thank you. There's a difference. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do not have anything further in terms of public or media comment. Do you have any indication that there might be somebody waiting to speak?
There's no
Corporate
one on
off-
the line.
Okay,
Madam-
thank you. Okay, so I will call for adjournment then, please. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Trainer, all in favor? Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
is there a possibility we could go into a quick closed? Is that something